And now, we proudly present Invent America from the #1 home improvement radio program in the country, Home Talk USA, with your host, the Cajun contractor, Michael King, and his co-host, the Inventor Lady, Rita Crompton.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this segment of Invent America, because Americans invent. Always have, always will. We make our statement in the marketplace. So if you're out there and you are an inventor, join us. If you've got questions, the Inventors Roundtable is kind of like our call-in version of Invent America. And if you need a service provider, call me. We have got great vetted service providers that are going to help you get through that next phase of the process. My first guest today is Don Skaggs. He is joining me for this segment. One of the big challenges for inventors is getting it out there. And, I think about this all the time. Inventors complain about, how much it's going to cost to file the patent. In the scheme of things, that's probably the least expensive of all the steps. And the next big one is the manufacturing. But holy cow, getting it out there, doing the marketing. If the consumer doesn't know you're there, they can't buy the product, right? So, Don, thank you so much for joining us. And
thank you, Rita. I really, really appreciate being on again.
we love having you because, you've got a perspective as an inventor, but then also this perspective of working with lots of inventors as president and, kind of the managing voice of the Kentucky Inventor Group. You've seen a lot.
Chief cook and bottle washer.
There you go. So first of all, give a plug for the Kentucky Fair that's coming up.
Oh, absolutely. We have the Innovation Station, and that's going to be at the Kentucky State Fair. And this is going to be a very different kind of experience for a lot of inventors and entrepreneurs. If you have inventory, if you have product to sell, then you want to go to our website, kyinventors.org, and click on the link and sign up. You can learn all about it and fill out an application. We're going to have inventors and entrepreneurs in our booth with the ability to sell product. There's almost 350,000 people walking through the Kentucky State Fair this year, it's estimated, and we want you to get part of that. So check us out for that.
Well, and, for a lot of inventors, they don't know, they'll make mistakes on marketing techniques. They might hire the bad company.
Right.
We look at that eye contact as being critical. During
Absolutely.
COVID, nobody put pandemic in their 2020 business plan.
Yeah.
But we learned a lot. All right.
We did.
We learned that those virtual things are just not nearly as good as being there eye to eye, shaking somebody's hand and letting them test your product.
And when we did this 2 years ago, I had folks walk away and say, I learned more about who my customer was in the last 3 days than I have the entire time I've been doing this. And you're absolutely right, Rita. It makes all the difference in the world. It's that face-to-face contact. You see if their eyes are lighting up, are they getting bored, and you catch all those things in real time.
You do. And we're getting ready for, starting to prepare for ASD Market Week in March of 2025. God, I can't believe we're actually talking 2025 already. It seems like, 2020 business plan was pandemic, and 2025 is, out there guns blazing and no holding back. So
absolutely,
for inventors who've got, prototypes, sexy prototypes, inventory, ASD Market Week is a good option because it is now one of the largest consumer shows. It's in Las Vegas. Wow. And anybody with any kind of product can go and show and find buyers. And last year when we went, there were inventors that told us the same thing that your guys told you. That was the best show they'd ever been to.
Yep.
And,
that's the real deal, Rita.
It is. And being at a place where inventors can sell and get feedback is critical.
It is. It absolutely is.
So, today we're talking about how important it is for an inventor to have some, not junky giveaways. Don't give away a pen with your name on it, but samples of the product.
Yes. And sometimes you can do that. Sometimes you can't. If you're making the equivalent of cars, then you really can't give out samples. It's
Really?
or something that's somewhat expensive. They might say, "Well, I want to try one first." Well, sure, and then they kind of walk away and think, "Well, gee, I just got a free something, and I'll never be back again." So you have to be really, really careful. We used to have a consumable product, and they came 50 to a pack, and we would make single packs, and we would give out these single packs, and that was cost effective. It cost very little for us to do that. It was basically, one small representative product in a plastic bag with a label, and you know what? When they tried it, then they'd used it up, and they were actually hungry for more, and that was a really, really big driver. So I think a lot of it has to do with the type of product you have and the cost. But
I agree. We had a gentleman that did a brand new full size functioning tractor years ago, and he wasn't going to be making, samples.
no.
And so, yeah, it certainly does make a difference on, the cost, the size, the different types of products do better as samples than others, for sure.
Right, right.
Technology has a lot to do with, what goes into any given sample. But, one of the things that we've learned, certainly it shows that we don't put samples out on the table. We pick and
Yes,
choose who we give them to.
absolutely.
So how do
Absolutely.
you, what suggestions do you have for the inventors out there on how do they manage this? What do they look at? Do they have any measurements that, not in size necessarily, but in scope of possibilities that you can give them advice on?
Yeah, well, I think you've kind of hit on it. Is don't just have them out there for everybody to grab, because there's some people that they're like at the Sam's Club or the Costco, and they're just trying to go buy all the sample ladies and just get one of everything, and they don't even care what it is. They just want one of everything, and a lot of those will, at a trade show or something, they'll end up in a bag in a corner of the office, and they'll never see the light of day again. So you don't want that. So I think you just hit on it. Is you've got to kind of evaluate. You got to qualify these folks that's coming by. Do they really look like they just are coming by to grab whatever it is you have, and they really have no interest in what it is? Or do they truly have an interest? Are they asking questions? Is there a spark of interest when you're telling them about it? Does it look like it's really filling a need? Is it solving a problem for them? Or are they just a lucky loop? A
Yeah.
looky loop.
And I always tell inventors, get out there and pay attention to who's walking by and ask questions. If, say what brings you to the show? Well,
Mhm.
my spouse is the owner of a store. Then there may not be the best one to give a sample to. But if you
Right.
say, I'm a store owner, okay, now that's a whole different category. And
Absolutely.
so, I'm a supplier for. And now they may be a supplier for a baby company and you've got a new tool. So again, you kind of, pick and choose what makes the most sense for you specifically and your product.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the thing that I have noticed most when we go to, the shows is the companies that really need to have access to a prototype are the ones that are going to be making decisions and they need to get input from a team. So they're going to go back after the show and sit around a table. And if they've got a sample to show, you have a leg up in getting to the next step.
True. True. Yeah. If they can put their hands on it and kind of see, they need to see how it would look if they tried it on. Just think of it as if you're selling a piece of clothing. They want to know, does this a fit for us? Does this fit well on the shoulders, or is it too tight, or is it too loose? So it's got to look like it's a fit. And sometimes a sample makes all the difference with that.
It does. And one of the other things that we've learned is that, by giving out, samples to key people, a lot of times they ask really good questions about design and functionality. And you can figure out then, okay, well, first of all, does my IP cover this? And you can get in there and have your attorney make some adjustments before they go to market. And this happened to, some of our inventors when we were at the last ASD Market Week was, people ask them, well, does it do this? Can we do this with it? And they think, oh, better fix that intellectual property a little bit. But a team will frequently ask questions about that. And you have then the chance as the inventor to get some really key feedback.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So anyway, we have got another guest coming up. So Don, you stick with us when we tie up the hour. We're going to talk to a couple of inventors who have been giving out samples, and we're going to find out how that's been working with them. And if you are out there and you want to join us, you want to ask questions, please give me a call. In the meantime, I want to really thank our sponsors, Packwell Manufacturing out in California, and ASD Market Week, the one that is coming up with a show here in the next few days. And more importantly for us, the show that's coming up in March. So thank you guys for being our sponsors. Hello, America, and thank you so much for sticking with us as we go through the inventors looking at how they tell their story to America. Because obviously, if we can't tell you there's a new product out there, you don't know where to go to find it. My next guest is Dr. Bennett Gatto. He is a physical therapist and the creator of Balance Briefs. So may I call you Bennett, or do you want me to call you Doctor?
Bennett's great.
All right, Bennett, then tell our listening audience, one, what is Balance Briefs? And then give your website while I'm talking to you, and remember, so they know where to go and order a pair.
Yeah, thanks, Rita. So Balance Briefs were created to help individuals have better strength, better stability, and better balance when they're on their feet and while walking. Just think of a pair of boxer briefs or undergarments that you wear underneath your normal shorts, skirts, pants, dresses. And we use a small tactile cue between the inner thigh that sends a signal to the brain and tells the brain to say, hey, activate the muscles in the hips, which in turn activates the muscles in the legs and helps you stand with a wider base of support. So in theory, that gives you better balance and stability. And we've seen fantastic results working with my patients and helping reduce falls, helping them just be more active and more confident in going out and about. So balancebriefs.com, you can check us out and you can order pairs right now.
Excellent. And we will make sure that we post the website for you on when we go out there and do our streaming. And then you'll be up there. One of the things we know about streaming is that once you're out there, you are out there forever. So when you've been talking to people, how have you managed then the request for samples?
A little tricky with giving out underwear. You're definitely not getting those back, and definitely don't feel comfortable selling those. So, most people, I think, understand the concept of exactly what it is that we're trying to do and how they work. For those that don't, we offer a 100% money back guarantee. So instead of offering a free sample on the front end, we kind of give you the opportunity to, if you're not satisfied, we'll give you your money back on the back end. That seemed to be pretty effective for us. Allowing people to feel and touch and see the product, and then have a small demonstration, which, doesn't take but 15 seconds on how they work. I think that's really been key in getting our message across and kind of taking the place of just handing out a free pair of briefs to everybody.
So what have you done to get the message out there?
So right now it's been a lot of just in-person, word of mouth. We haven't taken to social media yet. This is our first radio show. We'll be at the state fair with Don. So I think that's going to be a very good experience, just like you guys talked about. Our first trade show, we did a home and garden show in a little small town here in Kentucky. We were set up next to gutter cleaning and tree removal services. And here we are selling briefs and, what would be viewed as underwear. And so we, again, learned quite a bit, but we had a very few people, maybe 500 people at the whole show. and we sold a couple pairs, and that was less than a month after even coming up with the idea.
Well,
So
cool. Wonderful.
yeah,
Congratulations. Well, consider now going with us to ASD Market Week because they've got a whole floor for clothing and different things.
okay, yeah, we'll have to talk
And
about that.
yeah, that would be wonderful. So, Don, I should send you some flyers to put out at your Kentucky State Fair. And that way
Absolutely.
people will know that, what's coming up. But, when you give your um, information, what is your basically your 30-second sales pitch, Bennett?
We're here to help you do more. We're here to help you to stay confident on your feet, stay off the floor, give you the ability to do the things that you want to do that maybe you can't do anymore. And we do that by providing you with balance briefs to keep you more mobile, keep you sturdy, keep you stable. And I think people, when they see them, they understand exactly what we're doing. So that aha moment goes quick.
All right. So is your major audience then elderly people? Is it people that have been injured? Who would be the most beneficial?
Primarily seniors, 55 plus. We have had some feedback that we've helped with knee pain and back pain. So we're kind of just learning as we go, which makes sense with the muscles we're activating. But our initial target audience is, I would say, the 55 plus, getting into 65, 70-year-olds primarily.
What advice do you have for other inventors? Now, different industries are different. We talk about that on a regular basis. You've got a tool, you've got a piece of clothing, you've got clothing that produces a function as opposed to just a new t-shirt with a new logo on it. So, when you're looking at your industry where you've got a piece of clothing that has a function to it, what advice do you have for other inventors?
And I think just try to think outside the box. Like, we're not just selling another pair of underwear or a pair of briefs. So we have to figure out how to communicate that message in a very succinct, 3 seconds. Someone can see what it is. Oh, I understand what it's doing. And now it initiates a conversation. So I think just try to be creative, try to think outside the box. Obviously you came up with a new invention. You have a creative component going on in your brain. So use that and just think of it as a marketing piece as well. How can you just spark interest in that person to get them to either come talk to you or click the link or visit your site, whatever that may be.
Well, I think that you hit on it when you said it's got to be very succinct. That first 5 seconds is critical. And what you say to a potential buyer or a store owner. So are you looking to get into stores and be able to do wholesales?
Yeah, so our next steps are primarily, state fair, get a lot of feedback, and then tweak our designs accordingly, and then really be more of an e-com brand initially. Our goal down the road is to get into hospitals and nursing homes where we can help reduce falls in those entities that have very high significant costs. So yeah, that's I think where we're headed. Hopefully we can have a smooth path to get there.
Well, the one advantage that you have, at least that I've seen so far, is that you are able to manufacture some. So you're able to do then the sales. And for a lot of inventors, that's kind of where they end up getting stopped.
Yep. Yeah, we got lucky there. We're able to produce basically in-house. So I think we can service any of our online orders that way. And then as we get into some of these bigger facilities, then it'll take some heavier manufacturing.
Excellent. All right. Give everyone the website again.
Balancebriefs.com. Come on over and check us out.
So we will get that posted, and then I will get in touch with you. We'll do some videos so that you can actually show some of the samples.
Yeah.
People like to see what's going on, and they actually like to see your face as well, because then they know that you are real. So America, stick with us. We have got another inventor coming up that's got a very different industry product, and he's excited to share. Stick with us. Hello, America, and welcome back to Invent America, because America Invents. And my next guest is Brandon Kollar. We've had him on before. Brandon, thanks so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Rita.
And congratulations on your patent issuing. That is always a wonderful step. And, one of those mountains you got to climb.
Very exciting, and it only took 2 additional years on top of what I was thinking it was going to be or what I was told.
That kind of falls into our normal strategy is look at your time frame and your budget and then double everything. It's, amazing how close it gets then once you double it. And it's like, now you're in the ballpark. So tell our listeners about Edge Products.
So basically, I started a product development company as I was launching my first product because that's what I want to work towards. And so I made a gun product that helps you put together an AR-15 rifle, and you piece everything together as basically a jig. And I made a virtual walkthrough and an animated walkthrough to put people through the different steps. As I did that, I kind of documented what I was doing with patents, with learning about shipping, with learning about prototypes, rapid prototypes, videography, reviews, testimonials, and giving out samples, which is what we were talking about.
Exactly. So how have you managed? I mean, you could end up giving everything away because people are asking for, oh, gee, I'd love to have a sample. So how do you manage that? What is the criteria that you look at?
Originally, I was going all out and I would give it to anyone because it's a firearm. I was giving it to anyone that was a Navy SEAL or a Marine and like, hey, I need you to review this. You're a police officer. You're in the firearm industry. I would give it to gun shops, like show it to your boss, see if they'd wholesale it. And I spent so much money on samples and I was looking at my taxes because I would also write it off as a promotional item and who I gave it to and what date. So at least I could kind of track it. And only about 1% of them were paying off. I had to really switch it to someone that either had a magazine, that had a videographer company that was going to actually take photos of it, if someone was going to really do a review, because a lot of customers be like, hey, can I have 10% off and I'll give you a review? It never happens. It's like the Be Back bus for when I sold gym memberships, they'll be back. And so I really evaluated my criteria when I was at a giant trade show. You had to be part of a company. You had to be a name brand person. And that's the only time it's ever really paid off where I would give one sample to a marketing company or a magazine company. And then all of a sudden I'd get an order for 500 pieces. So that's something I'd suggest to a new inventor giving these out, depending on what they cost per piece, is you've really got to look at the clientele you're giving it to and find out what it's worth for every time you give one of these away and how hard it is to get one back, how hard it is to get a review out of it, a piece of content. And that's how I tackled it.
Well, that's excellent advice. And I think you hit on a few things that I would like to review is like when you first got started, you kind of randomly gave out samples to anyone that asked for, and then learned pretty quickly when you started tracking the return on investment is what it was. And if you don't do that, you can waste a lot of that early cash real fast in just giving randomly. And so when we look at say, all right, track who you gave it to. And for some inventors, it's like, are you kidding me? I've got to write one down every time I give one out. Maybe then you're giving them too often. So when we look at then tracking, it's like, all right, why are you giving one to this person? Because they want it or because they've got a potential of ordering, even a couple of dozen of them to put in a store. So the who and why I think is really critical.
Completely agree. And that's why early on, because it's a firearms product, I would give it to law enforcement officers, to Marines, and then it would be rough because like a local one to me owned a jiu-jitsu gym. So I dropped it off at his facility. He never got it. And I saw him at a match. I'm like, hey, did you get that? And he goes, no. So then I had to go to his facility and give him a second one and hope to hear from him. So I really changed it to you had to give it to someone in person. And when I was traveling for work, I would give one to the local shops because I wanted to wholesale my product. So I would give them to the bigger places that had multiple locations because in case they ordered a dozen of them, I wanted them to at least have the sample. And then the more I thought about it, I wish I would have just done like a printout that was front and back of my product with its size and specs. And because a flyer wasn't good enough, it was actually need to be more life size for what it is, which is similar to a piece of paper. But it took a lot of learning before I got that through my head that Don't just keep giving samples. Don't give it to the taxi cab driver because his uncle is a YouTube star. Because I have those stories.
I am sure you do. You live and learn, but sometimes the learning can be really expensive. And, I always tell inventors, it's not like you've got, endless money to throw at marketing. And by the time inventors get to the point of marketing, a lot of times the cash is running low. And so you've got to be really, really careful how you get it out there and who you are giving it to. We had one gentleman, he only had a half a dozen prototypes. And there was a company, that said they were interested in possibly licensing. That's what he was going after. It took us 6 months to get the sample back, but we did get it back, which is good because there's a lot of times you don't get them back.
And one thing I'd speculate with the samples is once I had the ability to do it myself, I would customize it for the company I was giving it to. So I would put their logo on the package or on my product, and that's when it would really pop to them and they're like, hey, we can make this ours. We can license it. We can sell it under our name. And that's also when it started to really benefit and take off of giving samples is when I would customize them for them, or it would actually push them over the top to make an order because they saw it. It was proof of concept.
Exactly. So tell our listeners where they can go to buy your product.
Sure. Just search AR Builder Board. Search AR Builder Board. There's about 4 different online retailers that sell it for me and part of my marketing and licensing contracts. So I'd love to give them some of the business and I look forward to helping you.
Well, that's wonderful. And we appreciate that as well. So how have you been able to I know you've gone to shows. What were some of the shows that you have gone to?
I go to national firearm shows. So like SHOT Show, which is out in Vegas. I also go to giant weekend shows that last for the weekend for an actual like gun show in like Tulsa, Oklahoma. There's some really giant ones out in Vegas for inside the casino. So the bigger, the better. And then there's also, you'll find in whatever organization you're doing, racing, painting, dentistry, if you can go to those shows and get a vendor table and set up for a couple $100, and it does take hotel stay, but the people that you can meet, the reviews you can get, the content, people in the industry learning more about it. And so I'd go to those events too, just to set up a table and show my product and see who I could meet walking around. And that's led me into more work. And that's led me into factory visits at these facilities to say, hey, you're someone I want to work with. And not always did it turn into something, but that turned into a relationship I have as a resource. I got to actually see what a large scale facility was. And that's been a benefit too. So anything that's in your area, try to go to. Even coming up, I'm going to the Kentucky State Fair with Empowered Inventing to be part of that.
Oh, wonderful.
And so that's an exciting piece of something that I can get my product into several people at once and work on your pitch and work on reviews, work on why people even buy it. Because that's a fun thing is why does someone want it versus what you're advertising it as.
That's absolutely true. And so we look at those shows, and for every industry, there is a particular show. I've been to the National Asphalt Show. It wasn't very big, but it was productive for the inventor who had the new asphalt product. So you look at then the specific show that your product is in. And I don't recommend you go to a show that is for inventors, because it is a feeding frenzy and the inventor is the main course. So we look at going to then the industry show as opposed to a show for inventors. And that works much better for our inventors to be able to talk to other suppliers and buyers and store owners at the industry show, because that's who you want to get in front of.
Completely agree.
Well, then everybody out there, all right, the biggest show that we have coming up is ASD Market Week in March of 2025. If you are an inventor out there and you have got a product that you want to have shown to America, join us at ASD Market Week in March 2025. Brandon, I love the way you walked right into that for me. Thank you so much for being a guest today. And I know that we will have you on again because you're far enough down the road here that you have got a lot of really good advice for our inventors. So stick with us, everyone. We will be right back with Don Skaggs.
Thanks for hosting, Rita.
Hey, everybody, thanks so much for being with us. And we want to give a shout out to Kicker Product Designs and how they are able to help inventors get through this phase of getting the right prototypes out there. So if you are an inventor and you need some help, Kicker Designs, Noah Addison is the CEO. We want to be able to point you in their direction because they will help you get that first order that you could actually give away some samples. All right, Don, thanks so much for being with us this afternoon. And
Thank you, Rita.
Samples in a certain area are really critical. Because as people go back and they meet with their teams, a lot of times the team will vote. And if they've got a sample, they can pass it around the table. You don't always get it back. Sometimes you do. But, why? Why is it so important?
I think just having that, I can touch this and feel it and it's real. I think that changes things on so many different levels when someone's taking it back, and again, like we talked about before, you've qualified them. Yes, they are interested. Yes, this isn't just a sample for sake of collecting a sample. They're actually interested in taking a look at this. And if they're taking that back and they're taking a look at it, they can walk in and just talk about it, or they could walk in and just, show a flyer or some type of piece of literature, but it's not the same as actually being able to touch it. If you can look at the functionality of it, oh, I see it does this way. And that can make all the difference in the world sometimes.
Well, and sometimes when you talk about it, all right, they don't really get it. I've got a product that does this. And so when you've met someone at a trade show and they have to go back and talk about it, if they can actually show the product and a video of how it works, a lot of times it's that combination that is the winning combination to get a store to either stock your product, getting a supplier to be interested in licensing the product. But they've got to get it, and they've got to get it in about 5 to 10 seconds.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of times with our folks, what we teach is you don't just think in terms of a prototype. You think in terms of a Frankentype and a demo type. Frankentypes where you've snuck out to the graveyard of broken products and spare parts. You've used glue sticks and duct tape, and the end result is something so ugly only an inventor could love it. But
yes,
what you're proving it just to one person, and that's you.
Right.
When you move from that point and it's all working for you and it's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt to yourself, then you're moving on to what we call the demo type. And the demo type doesn't just prove it to you, it proves it to other people. And someone else proving that where they're able to see it working, that makes all the difference in the world.
It does. And, we've had inventors go with us to ASD Market Week, and they had maybe 6 prototypes to their name. And, back in the day, those used to be thousands of dollars each. Now they're,
Yes.
$500 or $600 in each sometimes. And, everybody say, oh my goodness, that is so beautiful. And it works so well. And they had no idea that it was just a prototype, but it was, off of one of the rapid prototype machines, and it was done beautifully. And you could not tell the difference between what it would look like on a shelf with mass manufacturing and the prototype. So those prototypes can be really sexy.
Yes. If you can make it look good, make it to where, again, if they try it on, it's going to fit. They're going to see it. They're going to say, oh, I could see us selling these in, say, a licensing situation, or I could see us really changing this process of our whole business. I mean, those are the things you've got to get them to see it. And the more you can do to get them to see it, the better you're standing.
So there is nothing more fun than being at a show when a potential buyer walks up and picks up a product, and you can start to see their eyes get excited and, kind of animated, and they start turning it around and looking at it and everything. And they're thinking, okay, we could do this. And, a lot of times they say, well, how much is the product? Well, for an inventor who wants to license it, they haven't really gotten to the manufacturing costs yet. And the cool thing is that when they license it, the licensee is going to do all of that. You can tell when the difference between a licensee and a buyer. because licensee, they're already factoring in that potential cost in their head because they know they're going to be doing it. Whereas a buyer, they're going to ask the question. Then, it's up to the inventor to be able to say, okay, this is what my wholesale price is.
Yes. And that's a good way to vet those two types of people, because when they walk up to you, sometimes you don't know, or you don't know what direction they're coming from. And being able to just discern that early on is going to really help you in the whole pitch and because you're only going to get a certain amount of minutes with this person, and learning as fast as you can on your feet, and then diverting your pitch to, oh, well, this is a really good licensing deal for you, or, oh, this is a really good product for you to buy. That makes a huge difference.
I always tell inventors, I say, your first shot at it is 15 seconds. You've got to be able to get all the information out there. What problem did you solve? How did you solve it? Did you use a registered patent attorney? And can we make it at a price the consumer will pay? If the answers to those questions are correct, then your next interview is going to be 15 minutes. But when they start, oh, I did it when I was having this problem. And no, focus. Got to get the, what problem did you solve out there first before you get to go into your life story.
Absolutely. It's really more of an escalator pitch than an elevator pitch, isn't it, Rita?
It is for sure. Don, thanks so much for being with us today. Everyone, we are going to wrap up this hour of Invent America. Be back with us again next week when we are going to have another wonderful topic and inventors who've been there, done that, and are ready for you, America, to go out and look for their product. So stick with us now. We are going to be coming up with Made in America with Greg Owens and his guests. And we are going to have all of you go to invent-america.com. Sorry, lost my train of thought because I was thinking about Greg and what he's going to be doing. So invent-america.com, or you can go to inventorlady.com. We have all of our resources there. If you are going to be anywhere in the vicinity of Kentucky and you've got a product, I've got Don's info, and you can get your product out there for everyone to see coming up in a few days, right, Don?
That's right. It'll be here before you know it.
I know, right? And if you missed that one, go with us to ASD Market Week. I will have the details out to you after the 1st of August. So everyone stay with us. We have got Made in America coming up here in just a few minutes. But right now we are going to go and pay some bills, everybody.
Thanks, Rita.